What's up, folks, and welcome to Indie Ramble. So, I got another first-person shooter for you today. Yes, indeed, hot on the heels of Adaka. This is very different from that one, and I don't even entirely know how to qualify this game. Well, you'll see. So, this is Scathe, and just came out very recently. Its launch has been met with a fair amount of controversy in the sense that opinion of it is very, very mixed, both on the actual critical front and on the user review score front. Some people really like this game, others really, really don't. And I actually streamed this for a few hours a couple of nights ago from when I'm recording this, and I'm very mixed on it as well, but I wanted to show this to you because it's got a vision that's very different from what you see with a lot of first-person shooters, and it's trying to do some cool things that I think are going to appeal to some people and not others. And I find games like that are often the most interesting. So, yes, indeed, this is a first-person shooter. It is single-player or co-op up to 4 players online. We'll talk about that and as well. And, well, I'm just going to jump in here. Now, you may think that this looks a little bit like Doom 2016, and you wouldn't be wrong on that. The people who made this game, I'm going to tell you right now, know how to make the Unreal Engine sing. This game looks really, really cool. As you can see, one of the things that really appeals to me about it is it's got that boomer shooter style mentality of it's fast. This game does not have any ambitions of being realistic in any way. It moves quick, the guns are crazy. You can do this crazy dash thing. There are mountains of demonic enemies to fight. And just weapons that are completely weird and different. And, well, the story behind this, as far as I can tell, is that you are an agent of a god, but he doesn't look to be like a friendly god, really. But the idea is you're being thrown into a maze and in hell that's controlled by something like the devil, and you got to fight your way through it and clean the place out. That's pretty much what it is. I haven't gotten much more story than that at this point. And this is indeed a maze. So here's what makes this a little different, right? So, I mean, there's many things that make this different, but so a lot of first-person shooters are fairly linear, right? You go from level to level to level to get to the end of things. Or, you know, there are open world games as well where you're kind of given a sandbox and you have to do things in various different orders. Well, here's how this one works. So each of the spots on this map is a separate level. The levels are not randomly generated. They are all handcrafted, and there are various different types of levels. There's some different biomes. There's levels that are more mazy. There are levels that are more sort of corridor linear style things like you'd see in a lot of shooters, and there are levels that are more combat arenas, that kind of thing. So you can go, the way you go between these levels is that there are doors at various points that have symbols on them that will take you to the appropriate connecting level. And some of the levels, I'll show you again here. So some of the levels are just things you progress through. Others have particular things, and you can see there's a little legend on the left there. So like this level, if I were to go here, has a dark magic in it. This has a new weapon in it. There are levels that have hellstones in it, and every level as well has these 6 of what are called runes, and these are collectible objects that you find in the levels, and once you collect certain numbers of them, you basically unlock certain bosses. And if you can manage to collect them all, the game just teases you saying you unlock something really interesting. I couldn't tell you what that is. But so it's a collect-a-thon thing. It does gate progression, though I don't find too badly. And if you really wanna go the full 9, you can do that. And as you can see, the gameplay in this thing is just ridiculous. It's a gore fest. It keeps tons of body chunks on the screen. And like I said, these guys can make Unreal sing, because despite all of this and how this game looks, it's running at a near constant 144 frames on my system. Way better than a lot of games that look worse run. So this is one of the doorways here, and as you can see, this says I'm going to go back to a prior area, but we'll do that so I can show things around to you guys a little bit. Now, here's where things get interesting and where I think opinion will divide somewhat. as you can see, there is, oh, yeah, I don't know if I want to go back here, actually. These guys, those floating guys, they suck. So there is a wide variety of enemies in the game. Now, there is actually a bestiary and a thing, they actually call it a wiki, that sort of details all the different elements of this. There's a lot to keep track of and to think about in this. Unfortunately, you can only see it from the main menu, but so you notice I kept bringing up this global map, right? So you might be like, all right, so that's cool. So where's the level map? How do I navigate through these levels? You don't. There isn't one. So the arena that you're in, the game actually does refer to it as a maze. So your goal is to find your way through these levels. And some of them are not that easy. I've been in some levels where I've seen a door that goes in a direction that I want, and I haven't been able to figure out how to get there. There's a lot of trial and error. There's going to be a lot of learning the routes. There's going to be a lot of, I think, memorization to a certain degree. And the thing is, every level has a crazy number of enemies in it, and when you leave a level, they all respawn. So you're never gonna, if you clean out a level, you're not gonna come back to it and find the place empty. That's not how it works. And as you may have seen there from the beginning, there's also a live system. And now, there's actually a scoring system as well, as you can see in the upper left. And I initially saw that and went, wow, that's a throwback, because, I mean, a live system and a scoring system in a first-person shooter is something rarely seen outside of, like, Wolfenstein 3D, like the old Wolfenstein. And I was like, I'm curious how they're gonna utilize this, because that would be kind of cool. Well, the scoring system, honestly, is kind of pointless, and it bums me out, because they clearly put some work into it. There's a combo system that's really interesting. The way the combo works is every time you kill an enemy, it goes up. It doesn't go down unless you take damage. It resets to 1 if you take damage. But it doesn't actually go down over time or anything like that you would normally see. And you can rack up scores, but the problem is, also, here's one of my most hated enemy types, and we'll talk about that later. But the score doesn't mean anything. You don't get anything for achieving certain scores. There's technically a leaderboard, but it's local only. So I'm kind of like, well, all right, so what's the point in that then? It feels like they put all the time and effort into making this cool scoring system, and then they didn't really do anything with it, which is kind of a bummer. Now, the live system is a little more prescient to the gameplay, and it's something that people are going to like or hate. So if you run out of lives, or sorry, if you die and you have lives left, you will respawn in the level not too far away from where you died. Sometimes the game likes to respawn you with a ton of enemies right in your face, which is a little bit unfair, but, you know, it likes to do that sometimes, so it's something to be mindful of. If you run out of lives, you will go back to one of a handful of designated checkpoints. Now, I don't know how these are structured, but because sometimes it's done it when I've, like, picked up a new weapon or item, sometimes it's done it when I've at seemingly random places. I don't really know how it works, but you will typically lose a decent amount of progress if you run out of lives. There are opportunities to find extra lives in the levels, but yeah, that is something you're either going to like or really not like, and I get it, I do. You also saw there, much like the Metro games, if you've ever played those, there's a dedicated wipe the crap from your face button. It's a neat gimmick, but I don't think it adds much to the gameplay, and when you're in the middle of a really tense battle, having to press that and wait for him to clear the vision, I find pretty annoying. You can... oh, this is a fun one. So this is like the demon mode from the old Painkiller games, if you guys remember this, where you temporarily... It's very short-lived, but you basically become invincible and do stupid amounts of damage. It's a fun thing. Yeah, when you're in the middle of a big battle and you have to press that button and watch the animation, it's kind of annoying. It doesn't actually stop your ability to fire, though it does stop your ability to use magic. And yeah, that revolver you see on the side there, that's not technically a gun, that's a magic ability in this game. You may have also noticed I'm only using the same weapon most of the time. Yeah, so that is another thing that I think a lot of people are going to find a real bummer. There is a good variety of weapons in this game, and much like the Painkiller games, from which I think this does take a fair amount of inspiration, the weapons are all very different and have very cool effects, and they're very interesting. The problem is they are spread out all over the place. And you, as I said, if you look in the map here, you're going to see that there are certain arenas that have the weapon pickups in them. Now, when you do pick up a new weapon, you keep it. Same thing with magic abilities. When you pick them up, you keep them. So even if you run out of lives, you don't lose those things. That's where this game also almost becomes a little roguelite-y, in the sense that you pick up things like that and you do get to keep them for the rest of your run, or the rest of your full session, which is nice. The problem is that, like, I've been playing this for almost 4 hours now. I only have 2 guns, because some of the arenas that have the guns in them, I haven't managed to figure out how to get to them. And they don't have a lot of ammo. Your main gun here, which has a time recovery grenade launcher as its secondary and is a machine gun, obviously, is the main one. This is unlimited. It's your starting weapon. You never run out of this. Everything else, like this gun here, which is, you'll see, I still haven't found... Oh, screw that guy. Yeah, I don't like that guy. They go basically full bullet hell, and they teleport all over the place. They suck. But they look really neat. The other gun that I have can carry a maximum of 50 rounds, which you can burn through wicked fast. And the levels have a ton of ammo pickups for other guns, but not as many for this one. Because there are so many different guns and each one uses its own ammo type, you'll find ammo pickups all over the place that you can't use because you don't have the guns yet. Now, much like a roguelite, as you play this more and as you work your way through it, and as you do get the bigger guns, you'll have more options, more ammo, and thus become more powerful, much better able to take on areas that you maybe would have had a hard time with before. Makes sense, right? I don't have a problem with that, except this doesn't progress the way a roguelite does in that regard, in the sense that it doesn't hand, like, a good roguelite will hand out new things to you at a reasonable clip, so that you want to feel satisfied and challenged by the game, but at the same time you want to feel like the game is rewarding you at a fairly decent clip, so that it's not taking you hours and hours between those upgrades. That's very much not the case here. As I said, I've been playing for hours. I found one new gun, and it's cool. It's actually really powerful, and I like it, except it doesn't carry a lot of ammo, and I haven't managed to find another one yet, because it's just, this is a maze. I think some people are going to really dislike that slow pacing, especially when, though there is actually a large variety of enemies, even the new enemy types are fed to you slowly as you progress through the maze. So you're going to be fighting a lot of the same enemies a lot of the time. Like, I can't even begin to tell you how many hundreds of each of these types of guys I've taken out already, right? And we'll talk about the enemies in a second, but you've seen me firing off this other gun, so that's the other thing. You do get magic powers as well. And the way your magic powers fill up is through souls, which is by taking enemies out. This one I particularly like because it's this hand cannon of a gun that you can fire usually quite a number of times before you run out of it. And it's a point shot weapon that does a lot of damage. And it fires so fast it's effectively a hit scan weapon, which is really nice. There is another magic power that you have from a ring you pick up. I actually can't remember how to switch to it, so I'm going to have to go check that. But there is another weapon you can find, which takes you over to... There we go. Which, this looks like a Thanos ring, effectively. This basically turns you into that demon mode again. But it takes a lot to fill it up, and it takes a while to use it. And since I haven't had it selected, the souls will only fill up the magical item that you have currently selected. So anything else that's not active will not be utilized. So that's something to think of as well. And yeah, my big problem is that it just doesn't feel quick enough. It feels like it's making you spend way too much time and repeat the same stuff way too much in order to get even just, you know, relatively lighter upgrades, just like one new gun once in a while or something like that. And again, it's got this scoring system that doesn't really seem to matter much in the grand scheme of things, and yeah, it's very, very grindy. Very, very grindy is the way I would put it. And not, again, roguelikes and roguelites are grindy too, and that's by design, but there's a way to do the grind, and I think this one overdoes it a little bit. And to talk about the enemies, I will say there's a lot of variety in the enemies in terms of their attacks, in terms of their attributes, like whether they fly. You saw those kind of weird bouncy ball things that come around. They all sound interesting. They all act very differently, and their behaviors and AIs are interesting. They don't just run at you like a lot of other enemies in typical games do. Oh, these frickin' turrets. But here's I think, honestly, the biggest problem with this game. It is clearly balanced for co-op. Now, co-op has its own challenges in the sense that when you're playing with people in co-op, the life pool is actually shared. So you don't each all have your life count. The group has a life count. But it allows you to do things like go out and go in different directions and seek out different things. If somebody collects a rune, you both get it. So you have an opportunity to sort of scour the levels and do a lot of recon and figure out where stuff is. Try to figure out the path to the door that you want, to the better weapons, to the magic upgrades, things like that, right? And it doesn't feel to me... So I was supposed to originally do a streaming event with this with 3 other streamers. We were going to do a 4-player co-op thing. For various reasons, that didn't come to pass. So I just opened this myself up, as I'm actually doing here, to a public match when I started playing to see if I could get some people in here. Well, you may notice it hasn't happened yet. Yeah, at least so far this game hasn't sold very well, and it doesn't have much of a population. So if you're going to play this co-op, it's probably best if you can find 3 friends to play it with. And I think if you did, that's where it would shine, because at least in my limited experience being able to play with pubs, the problem that I've noticed here is that the enemies don't seem to scale up or down, if at all, not very much, between single player and co-op. So this is notably harder, I think, if you're going to play it by yourself, because obviously there's only one of you shooting. You don't have cover. You don't have people out there able to help you find other power-ups or do navigation for you while you clean out a particular area. You don't have that. You're basically doing, you know, a job tuned for multiple people as one person. So here's a rune here. So that's the 4th one, which is cool. I was doing really good on runes at the beginning, and then other points I couldn't find any at all. Now I seem to be kind of halfway through, which is cool. So, yeah, the game really feels like it's balanced for groups. And if you play this by yourself, it's going to be harder. And frankly, I think it's going to be a lot more monotonous. Because you're going to have to find everything yourself. You're going to have to trudge around. You're going to have to deal with all of these, you know, all of these hordes of enemies yourself. You're not going to have, you know, the people you play with may have other weapons or things like that. Okay, here's a way out. So this takes me to a place that has a dark magic, and I haven't been here yet. This will be cool. We'll experience this together. So you've got to have, I unlocked an achievement of some kind. Kill 1,993 demons overall. Doomed. Oh my god. That's a tribute to the release year of Doom. Okay, you know what, guys? Classy. I like it. I like it. That's very nice. I love it when devs do nods to the past like that. I think it's really cool. And as you can see, I really would love to show you guys my secondary gun, but that entire other level didn't have anything in it for me. Yeah. And you see, it just tells you that you don't own the gun when you try to pick up weapons for something else. And that just gets frustrating. Yeah, if I'd progressed differently, if I was paying a little bit closer attention, maybe I would have found more guns by now. So your mileage may vary on that. And I've been sort of just, in my time playing this, because I wanted to see as much of it as I could, I've been sort of just touring around and not necessarily picking a path and objective and saying, all right, this is what I got to go for, you know? But, okay, here we go. So this is what this gun looks like. I don't know what the other guns sound like. This gun sounds super muted. It's like bassy, but also just kind of, it doesn't sound as powerful as it looks. So that's something that will be cool. And it's got sort of a horizontal spread bomb type of thing on it. But you're going to find yourself, at least at this point in the game, falling back to Old Faithful here on a regular basis because, well, that's kind of all you got. And yeah, and that's really the situation. You're going to find this a lot, I think, much harder and potentially more boring single player, but unless you got a group who's willing to get in on this with you, if you do have a group that's willing to get in on this with you, I think you'd probably have a really good time. But if you don't, you're gonna find it very grindy. And there are types of players who love the grind. I absolutely get that. And you know, if you like that, if you like really feeling accomplished and satisfied after you spend a long time trying to find the thing that you want and you finally get it and you're like, hell yeah, then I think you got something here that you're gonna like a lot. Technically, this game is really, really impressive. And the core shooting is fun. Like, you know, blowing down hordes of guys like this while you see a number go up, even if the number's kind of meaningless, it's still a lot of fun. You know, that's, if you're a shooter player, that loop is still going to get you. You know, and it feels in some ways like Doom 2016 does. Is it as good as that? Absolutely not. But it still feels really, really enjoyable in a lot of those core ways. And here's the thing. I get the vision that they had here. I really do. But it just feels as though, oh, this right here, this is where the game just feels like $1 million. It's just like, oh yeah, there it is. You get your demon power up and you're just ripping through hordes of fools and you're just like, I am unstoppable. Love it. But I get the vision they had here. They wanted to make a shooter that had a very different idea behind it in terms of how you progress through it. And I think that's cool. I love to see innovations like that. I love to see devs willing to take a very well-trodden formula and try something different with it. And I think this method that they applied here could have worked, but it needs to be balanced better and it needs to be less grindy. It needs to... The drip feed that makes a good roguelite needs to be drippier. The drip is definitely too light in this game, in my opinion. And it needs to be balanced, especially for single player. Like, you've heard me grumble about those turrets. Oh my god. Those turrets are so incredibly overpowered, and it's infuriating. Oh, look at that. I hit that thing in the wall, and now it got me a path to the thing. Now I just got to figure out how to get up there. Neat. There's little things like that too, little platforming puzzles that if you pay attention you can figure out your way to. So but like those turrets are so immensely, they're not OP in terms of the damage they do, but they take way too much damage to kill. And then when you do kill them, the turret, as you saw, freaks out and spins around for like 5 seconds just shooting in all directions, and it's just, they're infuriating when you run into them because they take so long to get rid of, and if you're trying to deal with them while also fighting a crowd of monsters at the same time, they just drive you nuts. Now, if you were in co-op, it wouldn't be so bad because you got 2-3 people pounding on that thing, and it would... Oh, crap. Well, this is unfortunate. Because you got 2-3 people pounding on it, and you'll take it down relatively quick. But as a single player, it just feels like it grinds the action to dust, and that's something that could be balanced. And I really, really hope they... Oh, screw you guys. Screw you guys. Screw you guys. There's like 3 runes in this immediate vicinity. Now, the cool thing about this is while these lava floors hurt you, they do hurt the enemies too, which I like. I always like a game where the environment is also detrimental to them, because you don't see that very often. A lot of the beefs that I have laid out here and that other user reviews and even critical reviews have had are things that they could fix. They could. So I'm actually backtracking here, but this is cool because it get me into some interesting places. These are things that they could fix with patches. It's mostly balance related. A lot of it is. And I think they could do something about that. And I really do think that they just need to... I really would have loved to have seen online leaderboards for the scoring system. In my opinion, right now, the scoring system as it is just... It's filler. You don't really need it for anything. Oh, hi. I think they really need to speed up the pacing at which you get weapons. Either if they want to put them in specific arenas, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think early on, they have to make it a little easier to find the arenas or levels where those weapons live. I think 4 hours in, having only 2 guns, one of which you can never use for very long, is just not that fun. This starting gun actually feels good, but it's getting a little samey at this point, you know? I'm trying to figure out a better way to frame it, but yeah, this game had really good ideas, and it just feels there's a great vision here that I think just needs some tuning, and they could make something really interesting and compelling here. But as it is now, a lot of players, and to a certain degree myself included, are going to find this just frustrating and grindy to the point of where it gets boring. And how many people are going to be able to assemble together a crew of 4 to play this the way it was probably meant to be played? Not that many. It's pretty hard to get a group of 4 people to all buy a game this expensive at once. Because trust me, dude, it really is good when there's 4 of us. And without much of a public player population right now, you're not very likely to find, randoms to fill this out with you. And even when I was playing this with randoms, the ones who came in often ran off on their own because they were just looking to find a couple of runes or whatever, and then they'd find what they were looking for while I dealt with all the monsters, and then they'd peace out. So I was like, well, you're helpful, thanks. So, freaking turrets, man. You see what it does there? It's just it takes way too long to deal with the turrets, especially because they're a static enemy, right? I just don't like those. Yeah, so that's really the core gripe I have here. I really love the core way this game plays. If they could make the balance and the pacing as good as they've made the technology and the presentation and the core gun loop, this could be awesome. As it is right now, I think they've made something that looks great, plays well in terms of taking out the monsters and whatnot, but the rest of it has turned it into something that only a specific niche is going to want, as opposed to a different kind of formula, gameplay formula, that they could have made into something with more than niche appeal, if you know what I mean. I think if this was structured well, it could introduce shooter players to a new genre and a new way of thinking that they might really, really like. And be like, wow, this is really cool. I'm so glad somebody's doing something different with this. At this point, I think the message that it's sending is that unless you're a very particular kind of player, you're going to look at this and go, well, these guys tried something new, and it's kind of not great. And that does bum me out. I think this game could honestly mount a comeback. I think if they really made some major balance changes and did another big push to try to get more public interest in it, then I honestly think this could have, like, some of you may remember the big turnaround that Rainbow Six Siege had. I think from a sort of indie perspective that this game could have a turnaround of that nature. But as it is right now, okay, so look, here's a new gun, actually. Nice, I actually found a gun. And it's the shotgun. Okay, we got to see how good the shotgun is, because what makes a first-person shooter good or bad is how its shotgun is. Okay, you got my attention. All right, let's peace out of here and see if we can shoot some things with this. If your shotgun sucks, there's kind of no hope for you to take a page from Civ 11. But yeah, I'm meandering around here because I really do think there is a market for this, even as it is now. But okay, you know what? Solid shotgun. I just don't know what this does. Oh, okay. It looked like it was shooting kind of a shield projectile back when I picked it up, but now it just seems to be like a bomb throw, which is okay too. Ooh, I do like this. Now, you see, if I'd found this earlier in my playthrough, which admittedly, missing this, because that was basically the first level that I was in there before, missing this was that was more on me, because this wasn't actually that hard to find. So, you know, I will take my licks for that. But as you see, I'm out of ammo again. So, and my other gun doesn't have ammo either. So cool. That was fun while it lasted, wasn't it? These are the things that I think they could pitch or patch and really tweak and adjust. I really do think there is the foundation of something special here. And some people are going to find it special even as it is now. But for me, it's a bit of a grind. If I can find people to co-op this with, I think I'd really dig it. But a couple of the people I regularly play games with don't really like fast first-person shooters, so that's probably not going to work. But if it's single player, you may very well like it. Just be prepared to work hard, I guess is the way to put it. So yeah, that is Scathe. It is out now on PC. Really, really cool potential here, and it can be made to fully realize that, at least the way I think it should. But as it is now, it's only going to appeal to a niche, and I really would like it to see go beyond that. So it's something I will be keeping my eye on, and I will be keeping it installed to see if I can find myself a co-op posse for it, because I think when we get in there, that's where it's really going to shine. So thank you very much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. If you like what you saw here, please do all the normal YouTube things. Like, subscribe, hit the bell. Leave a comment down below. Tell me, what do you think about this as I presented it? Do you think it's going to be are you going to be part of that niche audience that I've been talking about, that I think that this game could have? Does this not interest you? What do you think they need to change in order to make it appealing to you? Is this something that you are interested in doing in co-op or single player? I'd be curious to hear about that. So, as always, you can follow me over at twitch.tv/pxabstraction for multiple variety streams a week. I cover other indies and retro stuff over there, including things you won't see here on YouTube. We have a great community over there, and I'd love to see you be a part of it. Thanks again, all, and I'll see you on the next Indie Showcase. You folks have a good one. Take her easy.